you ready to start with your name and pronouns?
I don't want to sit like
I was like, I can't take you seriously if you're gonna sit like that though. Are you ready?
I've been ready.
Have you?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Same.
Ready? Hey everyone, Riley Sironen here. He, him, his, or they, them, their. Today I'm here to talk to you about a video that I created for one of my classes. As you may know, I created a video in the past that was talking about the importance of pronouns and the importance of asking people their pronouns. I interviewed cisgender people to see how they kind of felt about pronouns, how much they knew, and then kind of to educate them on the importance of those pronouns and asking people what their pronouns are regardless of what you perceive as their gender identity. Today you're going to be seeing a video I created for another one of my classes. It's called Breaking the Binary, One Trans Kid at a Time. It talks about the importance of being non-binary, and I interviewed non-binary people to tell me what their identity means to them, what issues lie around their identity, and just to inform the binary world in general, and also to speak out for those non-binaries that may not have a voice right now. This video to me is really important because as many of you are aware, I am transgender, but many days I either identify as a non-binary trans male or I identify as gender flux, because sometimes I feel my gender fluctuates between being non-binary, kind of genderless, to trans-masculine. And so this video kind of speaks on that, speaks on just all sorts of things. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
And my pronouns are they, them, theirs.
My name is Sierra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs.
Hi, I'm Jessie Max. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and he, him, his, interchangeably. I'm really chill with people calling me either or, no matter how I'm presenting. When I say interchangeably, people it's mostly to get people to relax.
My name is Alex. I use they, them pronouns.
Hi, I'm Alex. I don't really have a specific preference for pronouns, socially she, her, hers.
Hi, I'm Prince. I use he, him, his, or they, them, theirs.
Hello, my name is Caleb Callie. I prefer they, them, theirs pronouns, but any pronoun is fine for me.
My name is Amber, and my pronouns are they, them, their.
I'm Eli. My pronouns are he, him, his, and they, them, theirs.
More towards masculine.
I identify as an agender individual.
I identify as bigender, and bigender means a lot of different things for different people who identify as it. And for me personally, I identify as both female and male.
I cling to genderqueer because I don't know what I am other than not cis.
Gender fluid, genderqueer, or non-binary.
I am demi-boy.
Typically I identify as gender fluid, but I usually change it up with genderless or gender flux.
I am genderless.
I identify as genderqueer, and I very loosely identify as male.
Means I'm not constricted to male or female, and I can just float in the space in between, and I don't have to put labels like that on myself.
It's like when someone asks if you're a boy or a girl, it's just no. That's my answer. So it's not really a thing that I think about too often because I don't have a defined one really. It's just no. I saw a post on Tumblr that I really identified with. It was I dropped my gender to make more room in my inventory.
To me, it's that I distinctly identify as male and female dependent upon my day. For some people, being bigender is I'm gender neutral and then female, I'm this and then this. But for me personally, it's the two polarities, the binaries. And so, and for me, it's a lot of I wake up and I'm either extremely dysphoric, extremely I am male, what is wrong with me kind of thing, or I'm very comfortable in my body. And it's a really weird dynamic because I almost describe it as one day I'm cisgender, one day I'm transgender, which is really, really difficult to even wrap my own head around, so I don't really expect other people to understand it at the same time.
It means that Just I am who I am. I'm not conforming to the binary. I'm just existing as a person who is here.
Not part of the typical binary of male or female, or the fluidity between them.
To me, it means, hey, I'm not really a boy, but kind of also. So it's kind of like a mush.
Genderless, where I feel as though I have no gender throughout daily life, but I also use gender fluid and gender flux because I feel at times my emotions can shift into male or female at times, but usually just like goes back into the little hole of genderless.
It means I don't have a gender.
To me, it's not being that well-known male or female. I think of it as somewhere of a mix of being feminine and masculine at the same time, while at the same time not being male or female. So it's somewhere in the middle, but not even on that same scale of a binary.
I've always been like more masculine than a girl should be, like, but I thought I was just like a tomboy. But then I have the wonderful thing called internet, and I found out about different like identities and stuff, and I'm like, that kind of fits what I'm looking at.
It's gonna be like the whole stereotypical thing. It was Tumblr. Because like that's where everyone finds everything that isn't cis.
That's actually a really interesting story because like I grew up knowing I was not like other girls, you know? I was like, it was weird because I would go through these phases where I wanted to be read as a very masculine woman. I wanted to be read as very dude-like, you know? And then I also went through days where I was like, I need to wear all the pink, all the glitter, makeup galore, pretty hair, you know what I mean? And so like, it was a really weird thing, but I think what started me like trying to figure it all out was that, and like questioning myself and being introspective, was I dated a trans woman, and like hearing her story of how like she realized what her terminology was and what her identity was. Like listening to her kind of made me start being introspective, like maybe just like even if I was cisgender, maybe I should look into this, because obviously I'm pansexual, so like what about my gender identity? And then like as I started searching for terms, I was like, oh, I'm gender fluid. I've discovered that. I'm comfortable with that. But then I discovered demigender, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely this one. And then I was like, no, I'm a lot more distinct. I'm not like fluctuating throughout the day. It's very one day I'm this, one day I'm that. And so like when I found bigender and how distinct that was and how I could like specifically say which one I was like, this is it.
I've never really felt comfortable being associated with the traditional cis female things. I don't know, I was just uncomfortable with being called a girl, being uncomfortable having to sit with the girls' side of the room in gendered games, and I'm just like, I don't know what this means, but I am just very uncomfortable with this. And on Tumblr I was learning about trans and non-binary identities. I'm like, there it is, that's it, that's the thing. That's how I discovered it.
The internet, honestly, you know, it's one of those things where I always just sort of identified as a tomboy growing up or something like that, and I just it was never a major part of my life really to, you know, be a girl or be a boy. I just was me, and then discovered that non-binary was a thing, and was like, oh hey, that fits.
The internet. But also, like, it kind of started in like sophomore year of high school when I was practically like forced to be like this girl version of a sultan in a play, and I'm just like, I don't want to do this. So then I was just like, oh hey, I'm not what I said I was for the past 16 years.
A lot of research. I've gone through many different other gender identities, but then I found the non-binary umbrella and went from there. Before I used to identify as demigender, but then that just didn't feel exactly right.
Like, I feel like every trans person kind of has like that moment where it's like, oh. Like, it was like the middle of band camp, and I was like, these boob things are not really my thing. and I was like, well, this is spectacular. I'm just gonna do some marching band. And I was like, maybe I'm like gender fluid, or maybe I'm a trans guy, or maybe I don't know. And then I was like, whatever. Just whatever. I just don't need this gender thing. And then I was like, oh, I don't need this gender. And then I was like, okay, cool. No gender for me.
Initially, I realized that I was not female when I was in high school. And then going from there, I was like, if I'm not female, then I must be male. However, as I began to medically transition to that male state, I realized that I'm not really male, and I'm actually a non-binary gender. And I'm like, okay.
Like, if I want to have my pronouns used, like they, them, theirs, I have to ask, and some people are just like, those aren't pronouns.
For sure.
Just like my math teacher, like I tried to like ask them to use my pronouns, but I put down like preferred pronouns on like a piece of paper, and they're like, so they, them, theirs is your favorite pronouns? And I'm like, no, that's just what I like people to use when they refer to me.
No one knows. Just like no one ever assumes that you're anything other than what you're presenting as. And even then people still get it wrong. So just like no one knows at all unless I've like told them.
I think the biggest issue with when I present female is that people automatically assume that I'm not anything other than cisgender female, which is okay, I guess. But then when I present male, that's when people start to like ask questions and get confused and stuff, and it's like, it shouldn't be that difficult to understand. Like, I'm a dude. That is that. And so, I think the most difficult thing is like for people to wrap their heads around that it is so distinct.
People assuming I am a binary gender because non-binary identities are often overlooked, and not a lot of people are aware that they exist.
Mostly just the lack of awareness amongst the general population. You know, it's not something that gets brought up a lot, but if it does, people are confused, and then you have to educate people, which I don't really mind because it's always nice to spread awareness, but it's also occasionally frustrating that people just don't know this stuff.
Finding bathrooms to use, because like if there's not like a bathroom that I can go into that I'm comfortable going into, like if I have to use like a gender assigned bathroom, I get like super anxious and stuff.
The biggest challenge I face is that it fluctuates a lot. So like sometimes I get dysphoric at really weird times, like just waking up I feel like I'm not in the fully correct body, like there's parts there, but then suddenly like just 20 minutes later on in the day I feel totally fine, and then suddenly I'm walking back on the class and it's like, oh by the way, you're gonna cry now.
Constant misgendering. No one looks at you and like assumes like, oh, I think this person uses they pronouns, so I'm just gonna use them, like unless they know anything about pronouns and being trans and stuff like that. Because people just look at you and they're like, your voice sounds like this, you're probably a girl, or you look like this, you're probably a boy, or something, and it's just like, well, what if you're not?
Being forced into that mailbox and being like, close, but I don't feel like you're actually recognizing me for who I am.
When I'm misgendered by people that like I'm out to, I feel like they're like either they just made a mistake, which I do with some other people, or if they like never even try, I feel kind of invalidated, like it doesn't matter. But like when my family does it, I'm like, cool, because they don't know.
Do you run into that with using like she pronouns?
Not really, just no one ever uses they, because you give them like the binary gender, like whatever you present as, they just completely forget about the they. So I kind of did that just as like, so I wouldn't be misgendered, kind of. So like I give them the permission to use she, so that it doesn't happen. Because there's people that just don't understand. And it's easier to just give them their out than to try to come up with a thing, like a way to teach them. It's just easier to to just let it go.
Being misgendered isn't a big deal to me, I feel, because of the fact that it is a daily thing for me.
But it feels like to be misgendered is kind of just a weird gray line for me because I still use she, hers pronouns, which most people associate with the, female identity. So it really only bothers me when there's like a good opportunity to use a neutral word that wouldn't even be out of place and people still opt to hyperfeminize it. Like there are people who will, they'll refer to me as an actor and then correct themselves to say actress when actor would have been perfectly suitable to begin with, so that the fact that they correct themselves to an incorrect word is confusing, I guess, above anything else.
Can I swear?
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay, it feels like hell.
They don't fully understand or like care enough because they look at you and like from what they see on the outside, they try to make an assumption, even though I've told someone stated like, yo, my pronouns are they them theirs, and then they still don't listen, and you're just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna feel bad now. But continue with he, I guess.
It's just like, ouch. Like, it's frustrating, it's upsetting, it's annoying.
I don't encounter it being misgendered as in being gendered female. However, I feel like sometimes my gender is just disregarded even by people I know and who are aware that I identify as genderqueer. It feels silly to me because I'm like, when I first met you, to some people, I came out to you as using he and they pronouns and identifying as genderqueer, which is more than I would give most people. And you still solely use he pronouns, and I've gotten the situation where you could go to this thing as a male student if you would like. And I'm like, but I'm not really in any way. So what?
No, I don't.
No, because I did not know about it until a week before I moved here, and I have existed for 18 years, so it's a long time to go without knowing about a thing that you are.
No, not at all. I mean, I've said before, I'm the only bi-gender person I've met.
Not at all. Like I just said, non-binary identities aren't often acknowledged, and when they are, they're represented poorly.
No.
Not at all. Like, even I feel it's kind of new, not really, but like fairly new.
With gender fluid, I feel like I've seen a lot of shows where they like hint at it, like where like suddenly a boy or a girl are like in feminine clothes, then suddenly later on in the show they're like dressed up as male and no one says anything. But like no one has like specifically related like, yeah, this person's gender fluid or genderless and stuff like that. So not really.
No.
I do not.
No, not at all. I feel that there may be a few famous people who like would identify as a non-binary gender, but they end up getting pushed as either female or male, and then that's how like the media and society looks at them, even though they have openly stated otherwise.
Pretty much impossible because no one knows what genderqueer is really.
Well, I've never found any, so the possibility of them is non-existent, I guess. There might be some out there. I have not heard about any of them.
I think the closest I've gotten was a book by David Levithan? Is it Levithan or Leviathan? I have no idea. He wrote Two Boys Kissing, but he also wrote a book called Every Day. And Every Day is a book about A. A is just like a soul, basically, that hops bodies every day with teenagers and stuff, and like doesn't have their own gender, it doesn't have like a sexual preference or anything, they just hop around different bodies and like accepts them for the day. And like I think other than that representation, there's really nothing else that's very non-binary appearing.
The only things I can think of that I've read or watched that have non-binary characters are like plant monsters or robots, not people. So it's hard to find a human that I can relate to. It's just fictional beings.
I mean, I guess there's more recently. Ruby Rose is gender fluid and she got real popular from Orange is the New Black.
I don't think there are any.
There's a lot of hinting at it, but not really like fully on stating it. I've noticed that shows are starting to state stuff that's under the queer umbrella more and more lately, and it's just in a matter of time that it will, but if there is, I just haven't found it.
Not at all. Really, the only things that have my gender are like robots or aliens or things. Like, no people are genderless.
No, that doesn't really happen that often, especially not something that is represented well. Even just like finding trans characters that are well represented in a way that they are not just a trans character and they're actually like a character, even that is hard, much less a non-binary person.
Oh, you just want to be a special snowflake.
There really aren't any because no one knows it exists.
I think the actual gender identity doesn't have stereotypes, but being the two polarities is really interesting because, like, being female, you get your stereotypes, and then being male, it has your stereotypes. And I really do fall into the stereotypes when I'm male. Like, I'm extremely dude bro-ish. I have camouflage cargo shorts, and they are my life. They are my life. They have so many pockets. It's great. Or, like, snapbacks galore, Nike sneakers galore. Like, so other than, like, stereotypes for each polarity that I fall into, I don't think I fall into any that are, like, non-binary stereotypes, because there's really not any, I feel.
That I'm just a cis person trying to be a special snowflake.
Not really any that I'm aware of. A lot of people just assume that gender fluid means bisexual, but gender identity and sexual orientation are not the same. Everyone just thinks I'm a bisexual girl.
Once you're queer, it's only sexual orientation. Gender identity is not a thing, I guess. Like, I feel as though with anyone labeled under the non-binary umbrella, they automatically go to androgynous. And with androgynous, you have to be pretty much just masculine. Just masculine. Feminine does not exist when you're androgynous.
I don't know of any because what is genderqueer to those stereotype creators?
I would just tell them that there's more than just the binary, and there are people who either just fall in between it or outside of it.
Don't assume someone's identity, basically.
If I could just say to them the whole, it's like, do your research and, like, be introspective, because you never know. I mean, I thought I was cisgendered until I was almost 18 years old. Like, I feel like they need to be introspective, and they need to also understand, like, be introspective in the sense of, why do I think I'm binary?
Don't assume gender. A good rule of thumb is use they pronouns for people whose gender you don't know. Always ask pronouns. It doesn't hurt to ask, and most people will be happy to tell you what pronouns they use.
You do you, bro. Other things exist as well.
It's real! Surprise!
Can you not erase us? Because I don't erase you. I see you. Why don't you see me? Thanks.
Stop enforcing it on everyone.
Stop gendering everything.
I'm Kelsey Carey. My pronouns are they, them, theirs. I'm genderqueer.
My name is Sierra. My pronouns are she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs. I am agender.
So, I'm Jessie Max Morrison. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and he, him, his, interchangeably. And I am bigender, male, female.
My name is Alex. I use they, them pronouns.
Alex, she, her, hers, genderqueer.
Well, I'm Prince. He, him, his, or they, them, theirs. I am Demi Boy.
I'm Caleb Callie. They, them, theirs. I am gender fluid / genderless.
My name is Amber. My pronouns are they, them, their. I'm genderless.
I'm Eli. My pronouns are he and they pronouns. I identify as genderqueer.
Riley Sironen, he, him, his, or they, them, their. Gender flux or non-binary trans male.
And I'm not a special snowflake.
And I exist.
A stereotype I do not fit into is that I'm indecisive.
I'm not a special snowflake. I'm just just a person.
And feminine does not mean female.
I exist.
Don't erase me because I ain't gonna erase you.
And I exist.
And I want to be legally recognized.
And I'm not confused.